Velour.
والكرم
Padawa.
From a linguist perspective, there's about 300 distinct Indigenous languages across Australia. From an Indigenous perspective, it's more like 700 different languages. And the reason there's a difference there is that linguists apply a very strict definition in distinguishing a language from a dialect. So even if we apply very, very strict linguistic definitions, we still end up with about 300 distinct languages spoken across the country.
It's very important to preserve Aboriginal languages as far as I'm concerned, but part of that preservation process is very complex when you have very few speakers left of a language. So it's important that we have linguists that can come along and write Aboriginal languages down, record them so that you can see and hear how they're spoken, but also not only recording the words and dictionaries, but also recording the language in the context of which it is spoken. As Aboriginal people have an oral history with no written language, much of the language is recorded on cassette tapes, VHS tapes, mini DV tapes, all sorts of old magnetic formats from when linguists first started recording Aboriginal languages.
Noa. Labulbul.
Kandubara.
Mulya.
Of course, we can't archive entire languages. What we're doing here is archiving whatever snippets of languages have been recorded. Sometimes that's quite detailed information, other times it may only be a couple of sentences. But it's very important to preserve all of this if we can. New technologies are letting us do all kinds of interesting new things with these heritage recordings. So obviously digitising, putting them into an archive, making them available on the internet is something we couldn't do in the past with analogue recordings, where you'd have to go to a particular place to listen to it. But it's also quite difficult to find things through catalogues if you're not particularly interested in looking through catalogues. So we've been exploring using virtual reality as a way of presenting some of the audio material that we have in the collection. And what we've done there is taken snippets of audio, 20-second snippets, and put them into a virtual reality display. And that allows you to visualize these countries with shards of light coming up from the ground. Each of those shards of light represents a language. And as you travel over this landscape in your virtual reality experience, you hear these 20-second snippets of language. So you're walking through, traveling through a forest of languages, hearing these voices as you go through. And if you focus on a particular one, then you can hear that one separately from the forest. And so this is a way we're exploring of displaying this information, and ultimately what we'd like to do with this is use that as a point of entry, so that once you get to a language that you're interested in, or you hear a voice that you recognise, you should be able to go back to the collection and have that more of that information played to you.
People were often very emotional for a number of reasons. I mean, firstly, for a lot of people, they were hearing their fathers and mothers and grandfathers and grandmothers who had passed away, and they were hearing their voices again, and that was very emotional for obvious reasons. And for a lot of people, they were hearing languages that they remembered from their childhood, but that they haven't heard spoken for maybe 20 years. And this is in a context where there isn't really anyone who speaks these languages anymore, so that's very emotional to hear these languages being spoken again on the recordings.
Kalk. Karangan. Kungulbal. Molovin.
Yallo.
Kirai.
Maningen.
Kumulong.
Mango.
Kurat. Mabongo.